A former #1 quarterback recruit entered the transfer portal for the second consecutive offseason, plus a whole lot of other transfer news from the last 24 hours that we gotta get to. But before we get to all the transfer news, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe. It's one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. It feels like I was just doing a video on this, but Malachi Nelson is back in the transfer portal. After beginning his career at USC, he transferred to Boise State last offseason. He battled for the starting quarterback job, but ultimately lost out to Maddox Madsen, who led the Broncos to the college football playoff and a first-round bye. If you remember, Nelson was the #1 overall recruit in the class of 2023, but he has yet to see the field at really any point in his young career. Nelson was one of 2 5-star recruits in USC's 23 class, but he took only 4 snaps during his freshman campaign before he entered the portal last December. Nelson made 3 appearances off the bench in a series of blowout wins for Boise State, completing 12 of 17 passes for 130 yards. He finished his high school career as the back-to-back California Gatorade Player of the Year. He initially committed to USC in November of 2021, choosing the Trojans over teams like Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and many others. Now he's going to be heading to his 3rd program in 3 years, looking for his first opportunity at being named a starting quarterback. Now, no offense to him, but if he couldn't be the starting quarterback at Boise State, I'm not quite certain where he's going to be able to end up, where he gets a legitimate chance, unless it's like the MAC or something like that. Another former 5-star recruit that was highly touted back in the day is looking for a new opportunity. Tulane quarterback Thompson is in the portal, though he's actually going to be starting for Tulane in their bowl game against Florida. Thompson spent 3 years at Oregon as their backup quarterback before he went to Tulane last season looking for a better opportunity, but he lost the starting job to freshman quarterback Darian Mensah, who helped lead the Green Wave to the American Championship. However, Mensah recently put his name into the portal and committed to Duke, opening up a path for Thompson to get his first career start. But he's not going to ride it out at Tulane, and he's going to enter the portal looking for a new opportunity. He finished this season completing only 6 of 11 passes for 74 yards, but he did get a lot of work on the ground as he had 40 carries for 250 yards and 6 rushing scores. During his 3 seasons with the Ducks, he appeared in 17 games, completing 42 of 66 passes for nearly 500 yards with 6 passing touchdowns. Before we get to some of the quarterbacks who picked their new schools, it's actually news in 2024 if a quarterback decides to remain at their school. Nowadays, with half of the sport transferring out, it's actually a big deal if you remain with your program. The first quarterback who announced they'd be staying was LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. He had quite the season for the Tigers in 2024. He threw for 3,700 yards, which ranks 3rd on LSU's single-season record list. He only needs 75 yards in the bowl game to surpass Jaden Daniels from last year. He's also thrown 26 passing touchdowns, the 4th most in a single season in Tigers history. If he throws 3 touchdowns in their bowl game against Baylor, he'll move into 3rd all-time. Another quarterback who announced they'd be returning was Iowa State quarterback Rocco Beck. There were reports that numerous SEC schools were interested, but he'll be returning to the Cyclones after leading them to their best season in program history. Over his last 2 seasons, Beck has thrown for nearly 6,500 yards with 45 passing touchdowns. He's also added 400 yards on the ground with 10 rushing scores. Alright, let's get to the quarterbacks who have transferred to new programs. We'll start with what I think has a chance of being one of the more underrated quarterback signings of the entire offseason. Utah landed former New Mexico quarterback Devon Dampier. He'll be reunited with offensive coordinator Jason Beck, who left New Mexico for the Utah offensive coordinator job last week. In his first full season as the starter, Dampier emerged as one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the entire nation. He threw for 2,800 yards and had 12 passing touchdowns, but added 1,200 yards on the ground with 19 rushing touchdowns. The Lobos averaged just under 500 yards of offense per game, the 4th best mark in all of college football. His 3,900 total yards of offense were the 6th best in the entire country. I mean, just think about this for a second. He had over 150 rush attempts and averaged 7.5 yards per carry. The 2024 season is one that Utah would like to forget. They began the season as the favorites to win the Big 12, but they finished their year with only 5 wins. A large reason for that was due to their horrific quarterback play. Cameron Rising got hurt once again and appeared in only 3 games. Freshman Isaac Wilson took over and appeared in 9 games, but he was pretty terrible. He completed only 56% of his passes and had more interceptions than passing touchdowns. With Rising and Wilson both expected to leave the program, the Utes had an opening at the quarterback position. After bringing in Jason Beck from New Mexico, bringing Dampier in was a no-brainer. Florida State got their new starting quarterback in former Boston College quarterback Thomas Castellanos. After being the starter at Boston College for a couple of seasons, he left the Eagles after he lost his starting job in November. It's a reunion for Castellanos with recently hired Florida State offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn, who previously coached him while at UCF. Castellanos was a 2-year starter at Boston College as he started 12 games as a sophomore under Jeff Hafley in 2023. Then, under Bill O'Brien this fall, he was named the starter again. He appeared in 8 games in 2024, completing 62% of his passes for 1,400 yards and 18 touchdowns, but he left the program in the final weeks of the regular season after he was replaced by Grayson James. Castellanos became the first Boston College player ever to record 2,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in a season in 2023. That year, he threw for 2,200 yards with 15 passing touchdowns while adding over 1,100 yards on the ground with 13 rushing scores. Based on how things are currently looking for Florida State, it looks like Castellanos is the favorite to win the starting job. The final quarterback on today's list is Connor Weigman, who is transferring from Texas A&M to Houston. Weigman is another former highly touted quarterback, as he was ESPN's top pocket passer back in 2022. Overall, he went 9-4 as A&M's starting quarterback. He had 2,700 passing yards with 19 passing touchdowns. A foot injury ended his 2023 season after a really promising start. He opened up the 2024 campaign as the starting quarterback, but he sprained his right throwing shoulder in week 2 and missed more than a month. He returned in October against Missouri and had probably his best game of his career. He completed 18 to 22 passes for 300 yards in a blowout win over a top 25 team, but he was benched several weeks later in favor of quarterback Marcel Reed. Weigman had only 5 pass attempts in the month of November. Meanwhile, Houston, they went 4-8 in Willie Fritz's first season, and they just hired a brand new offensive coordinator in LSU assistant Slade Nagel. The Cougars finished 126th in passing this past season, so safe to say they could really use an upgrade at the quarterback position. Zion Chris started the team's final 7 games, but threw for 800 yards with 4 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Weigman definitely has the potential, as he showed flashes while at A&M. I know injuries played a large role, but he also just didn't live up to expectations while with the Aggies. Hopefully a new opportunity at a new school will be good for him, and he'll finally look like the top recruit that he once was. Well, that wraps it up for today's video. Which player in the transfer portal do you think is going to make the biggest impact at their new program? Also, what are your thoughts on the quarterbacks that transferred to their new schools? Who do you think is going to have the best season in 2025? Whatever your thoughts and predictions are for all the quarterbacks that have been in the transfer portal, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos all off season long, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share this video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.